Right, so let's take a look at what parameters actually are. So before watching this video, I would strongly recommend, if you don't know already about functions, you should watch my last video. Okay, so let's get into it. So welcome back, and in today's video we're going to take a look at parameters. So if you've watched my last video in this series, you may not know that I put an exercise in the description of that video, and I will in this video as well, so that you can test your knowledge of functions, parameters and everything. After you've watched the video, you can apply your skills to try and embed the knowledge a little bit better. What actually is a parameter? So when you have a function, for example, if I have this function that calculates the area of an object, for example, so we call it area. To calculate the area of an object, what do you actually need? Well, you would need, if you're calculating the area of a square, for example, you'd of course need its base and its height, right? So we could call that x to represent the base and then y to represent the height. Okay. And then what you'd be able to do, these, by the way, are parameters. They are values that you pass into your functions that will then be used inside the function to calculate a value or to do a task. So now we can just say shape area is x multiplied by y. And that's it. And what we can do is we can reuse that return keyword, return shape area. So if someone was, for example, trying to calculate the area of a square with base of 7 and a height of 5, what would they have to put into this function? Well, they would have to put in their base, the value of their base, which would be 7, and then comma the area of the height, the value of the height, which would be 5, just like that. And if all is right, then we should get an area of 35 printed out. Let's take a look and let's see. Lovely, there we go. So as you can see, the function has taken in our parameters for x and y, and it has printed out, or has returned, shape area, which we've got over here as a value. Okay, another way you can also do this, by the way, you can put x equals 7 and then y equals 5. Now, just a little side note, just for the technicality of it, if you put x equals 7, I can't then put just 5 over here. It doesn't quite understand what that is. Because I've specified what this value is, it kind of assumes that you have to also specify what this value is. So you can say, for example, this would be what's called a keyword argument, and then this would be a positional argument. So a positional is if you don't have any x equals y equals whatever, just keep it like this, right? And so you can have these variables that we have here, the preset variables, x and y, are what we call parameters. But an argument, you may be thinking, what's the actual difference? Is that the argument is the value that you pass in, okay? So x and y are my parameters. So I'll just type that out here. So x and y are parameters. In this example, the arguments are 7 and 5 because these are the actual values that you're passing in. Alright, that's the difference. Okay, so that was a very basic example of how you can use parameters. Now, let's say, for example, we've got a company that wants to give a welcome message to any new employee, for example. Okay, so let's say we're going to make a little function here called we're going to say welcoming. Okay, so this function is not going to have any parameters right now. What we'll do is we'll say we'll get in the name of the employee, for example. So let's go name equals input, enter your name. Then we'll say what their age is. Okay, I just need all the information. So we can say enter your age. And then we can also say the area that they live in. So we'll say area equals input, enter your area. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to say to get the message that's going to get printed out for each new employee. What we're going to do is we're going to make another function over here. We're going to call it create message. Okay, I'm going to call it like that. Now create message is going to take in our 3 parameters to create the message, right? So the 3 parameters will be name, age, and area. Okay, so I'm just going to really quick just make that look nice. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to say our message is going to be message equals. Now we want to say it's like you are, or we're going to say welcome. No, we'll say it like this. So we'll say you are, and then their name, and then we're going to say you are something years old and you live in somewhere, welcome. So the way we're going to do that, we need to put in our values, right? So we can say you are name, you are age, years old, and you live in area. And then we're going to put a new line, welcome. Okay, so you can see that I've got these values, so the name, age, and area, I put them in these 3 curly brackets. So when you put them in curly brackets, they won't actually do anything, but what I can do is if I just put F here, all of a sudden this manages to replace everything in curly brackets with its variable value. Okay, so that's our message created, and then we're going to just make it do return message. Lovely. Okay, so now all we need to do is we need to write in our create message. So we're going to say message equals, we're going to call it welcome message. Welcome message is equal to create message, so our function, and it requires 3 parameters, as you can see. We're going to need our name, which I can just put in here. I don't have to do name equals name, because technically all I have to do is I just have to put them in the right order. Here the order does matter if you're not going to say something equals something. If you were going to use equals, then you wouldn't actually have to put them in the correct order. So for example, I'll say here area equals area, then I can do age equals age, and I can do name equals name. It doesn't matter, the order doesn't matter as long as I put something equals something, something equals something, just like this. Okay, and then all I'm going to get it to do is just do print welcome message. Okay, so let's put that now. Let's run our welcoming function. Let's see what it does. Okay, here we go. Enter your name. Okay, let's enter Joe Blogs. Joe Blogs is He's starting out his career. Let's put 23, and he lives in London. Okay, so what should happen is we've entered in 3 values: name, age, and area, and those should be passed in to our create message function. That's the kind of way you say it. You pass in values. So we've got the 3 parameters, and our arguments are the value of area, the value of age, and the value of name. Okay, so once I click enter, we should get a nice welcome message. So ready? Here we go. You are Joe Blogs, you're 23 years old, and you live in London. Welcome. And there we are. So you may think, well, what actually is the point of doing this? We could have just done it in the same function. Well, I guess you can. There are different approaches, especially for this kind of thing where it's a lot simpler. But I would say that especially for functions where you have to repeat a certain thing depending on different values, then parameters becomes very, very useful.